Well, we now know exactly how much next month's G8 and G20 summits will cost us, more than $1 billion. That's a hefty price tag. And here to make sense of it all is Dr. Nick Bontis from the DeGroote School of Business. Always good to have you with us.
Hi, Taz.
Thank you so much. Well, is there any way to justify spending $1.1 billion over the course of 72 hours?
It's a lot of money, Taz. I mean, let's make no bones about it. But really the only way to justify it is to make sure that nothing happens while all the world focuses on Toronto, Ontario, and on Canada. We spent $1 billion for security for the Olympics. We spent $1 billion for security World Cup in South Africa. Now, granted, those events are over several weeks and have large geographical distances. But in the case of Toronto, we have to make sure that when the world is watching us, that nothing happens.
Okay, well, here's a question. Why were other countries able to patrol and secure similar venues, similar events at such a fraction of the cost?
Yeah, well,
Britain did it for a 20th of what we're going to spend.
You're right. London actually had the event last year, and their budget for security was $30 million. But we have to understand a big significant difference with the Toronto situation is that we're actually putting two events together back to back. That's actually one of the reasons why we're doing it, is to save money, so we wouldn't have to actually pay separately for the G8 and the G20. The other big difference with
I want to interrupt here because I'm not a mathematician, but I would think if you're having two summits, it would cost twice as much as, say, what another country was paying. So Britain spends $30 million. Why wouldn't our price tag be closer to like $60 million? Because
the difference is that we have two events that are actually significantly different in terms of distance. That's the problem. See, what we've got to understand is Toronto is the downtown core, but the other event's in Huntsville. And there's about, 150 kilometers difference between Huntsville and Toronto. And it's not just securing downtown Toronto, securing Huntsville. We also have to secure the full highway in between the two. You can imagine there's got to be mines and buildings that have to be reviewed, and ditches and old warehouses. So the reality of the situation is we're talking about a geographical distance that's very, very large, and that's what's leading to the money.
So logistically, did they make the bad decision in choosing the two locations?
No, I don't think they made a bad decision. The reality is going to come up when we figure out what the economic impact of this particular event is. Now, I did some calculations myself. If we look at incremental economic impact, in other words, net new business, it would have to be in the order of $10 billion. Why is that? Because 15% corporate tax rate, assume on $10 billion, is a $1.5 billion tax infusion. And if the event's going to cost us $1 billion in terms of security and another $500 million in terms of cost, that's when we're going to break even. So here's the real question. Will we secure $10 billion in incremental business? And of course, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that's going to happen, Taz.
Always a big question. Okay, well, speaking of big price tags, if you're firing up the AC to keep yourself cool these summer months, you're gonna see a big hit on your hydro bill. Are there any ways to keep that bill as low as possible during the summer months? Because it's not just the AC, but that's a big portion of it, I would think.
Yeah, actually, I was just looking at my bill last night, and we are going to get hit, especially if the weather stays like this. Thank you, Matt, for the wonderful weather. Let's keep that up. But the reality is that a lot of us actually don't look at our bills anymore because we have auto payment on our bills. So we don't actually check them out. And you need to check them out because there's some things in your house that are costing you a lot of money. Having the air conditioner, for example, running all day long and all night long because the weather's hot costs a big amount. We also have the fridge. So all large appliances that are on 24/7, that's where the bills are coming from. But we have other things too that take up a lot of energy, like your dishwasher, even your vacuum cleaner. And let's face it, most of us have our computer and our monitor on 24/7, even though we're not necessarily using it.
Okay, so you've got some tips on how we can cut down on those costs, starting with...
Absolutely. The first tip that I have is unplug devices during long periods of unuse. In other words, there's a whole bunch of things if you're taking off on vacation or if you're going away for the weekend, like your clock, radio, your night lights, or even your charger for your phones or your cell phones. If you're taking off from home for a variety of days, more than 2 or 3 days, make sure you unplug that. So that's number one. Number two.
Does it not cost you more to fire it back up?
Not if you're away for 3 or 4 day period.
Okay.
Yeah. Number two, use a power bar for computer equipment. Because when it's time to come to shut down your computer at night, and you should theoretically be shutting down all your computer equipment every evening, because that also gives the chance for the computer to reset its BIOS and its memory so it's faster the following morning. Most people just turn off the computer, leave the monitor on, and the speakers on, and the scanner on, and the printer on. So have a power bar to shut it all down. Number 3, look for the Energy Star label. Now, a lot of us are familiar with this logo. It was created in 1992 by President Bill Clinton.
Right.
And what he did was he come up with standards to make sure that the energy consumption of these appliances met certain thresholds. So make sure when you're purchasing those types of things, whether it's computers or washing dryers or whatever, that they have the Energy Star label. They might be a little bit more expensive than the ones that don't, but in the long run, you're going to save money because it'll save you on costs.
Good point. Any idea how much the average household could actually save if they implemented all 4 of your tips?
Well, I got one more to go. The 4th one is actually the air conditioner programmer.
My apologies.
The air conditioner programmer is a very, very important one, Taz, too, because a lot of people have no idea how to program their air conditioner, and they keep it on at a certain temperature all night long, all day long. The bottom line is, when you're deep in your slumber between, let's say, 1 and 5 in the morning, you don't really care what the temperature is, I hope. That's when you can actually raise it up a little so the air conditioner is not working hard. So to answer your question, Taz, if we do all 4 of these things, you can save at least $200 or $300 a year on your bill. That's a lot of money, especially when your bill's about $1,500
That is
for the
a
year.
lot of money. Very quickly now, the Senate committee is talking about retiring the penny. A lot of thoughts on that one, a lot of comments from the public. How do you feel? Is it going to cost us more if we round things up, or is it going to be a nil, a negative interest, a negative difference on that?
Bottom line, Taz, is we got to get rid of the penny. And this is why. Because it actually costs 1.7 cents to make a penny. So we're actually paying more money than it's actually worth. And you know what? We can learn from other countries. New Zealand, Australia, a whole bunch of other countries have gotten rid of the penny, and prices never actually increased like people assume. They stayed the same. We've got to get rid of the penny.
In fact, New Zealand doesn't even have the 5-cent coin
That's
anymore.
right.
They got rid of that as well. All right, always interesting to have you with us. We thank you for your insight and your comments. And that's a wrap for Bontis on Business this week. Be sure to check out his website, nickbontis.com. Always a pleasure, Nick.
Thanks, Taz.
Thank you so much.